Hi, I'm Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V. And as well as being the official start of spring yesterday, it was also Mother's Day in the UK. Now, Mother's Day can bring up a lot of mixed feelings for a lot of people. You can be conflicted about your own childhood, you can be worrying that you're not a good enough parent, you can be worrying that you're not doing enough for your parents, and it's this whole big baggage thing. I'm not going to touch that. I am not qualified for sorting out that kind of mess. What I'm going to talk to you about today is reparenting your inner child. That is something that a lot of different kinds of people talk about. Self-help people, psychologists, artists, even all sorts of people talk about reparenting your inner child. And I found it difficult to find an actual definition for what that is or how you would begin to go about doing that. And so I thought we'd have a little chat about that today. Right, we'll make a cuppa and then we'll get into it. Oh, hot. That was silly. So, what even is an inner child? Do you even have one? Yeah, you probably do. I mean, everybody does. Your inner child is that little bit inside of you that never quite grew up. You know exactly the bit that I'm talking about. It's the bit that gets petty and jealous over silly little things, and then your logical grown-up self says, oh, don't be so silly. Or it is the bit of you that wants to squeal with joy when you see that it's snowing, right up until you remember you've got to drive in it, right? And it is the bit of you that wants to create things, that wants to make things, that wants to be praised, that wants to be taken care of. It might come out more when you're sick or when you're sad or when you're hormonal, but it's always there. And it isn't just something that only people with terrible childhoods had. If you did have adverse childhood experiences, your inner child is probably crying out for your attention more than somebody that had a really idyllic childhood with great, responsive, reactive parents. But even if you did have a great childhood with fantastic, responsive parents who are aware of their own flaws, who are supportive of you in developing yourself, all those sorts of things, you do still have an inner child. You do still need to take care of your inner child. It's not just about meeting your unmet childhood needs, although that is a big part of reparenting your inner child, but it's also about learning to do things like regulate your own emotions, things like that. And it's very much about letting that joyful bit of you escape into the world and have some fun. It's about learning how to play again. So this is going to be a very boring video because it's just going to be me drinking coffee and talking at you. So I'll try and keep it quite simple, but it's a complicated sort of topic, isn't it? Because we all understand to an extent what an inner child is. And we understand maybe what people are saying when they say you've got to reparent your inner child. You've got to love your inner child, give your inner child a hug, all very hippie-ish. But what does that actually mean in practical terms? That's harder to find out. Now, reparenting my inner child is a journey that I've been on for quite a while because it really helped me to become a better parent to my own children. Lots of people are unconscious parents. Before I started doing this work, I was quite an unconscious parent as well. It means that we react straight away to things, usually from a place of our own inner child's unmet needs. And so we'll be unconscious parents. We will be repeating patterns that were taught to us in early childhood because that's what parenting is, because that's what parenting we had. And it isn't always ideal. Even your parents, I am sure, unless they were horrendously abusive, did the very best that they could with the tools that they had available at the time. But over time, tools change. Over time, parenting trends change. Over time, our understanding of how small brains work changes. And so there will always be a little bit of work that you need to do on you even if you're not a parent, it will come out in your other interactions. You will maybe respond to things straight away in a hurt way. That's coming from your inner child space. Once you've learnt to teach your inner child, how to self-soothe, how to emotionally regulate, once you have learnt to step back from that a little bit, take a deep breath, look at the situation calmly and think, am I responding to this as my highest self? Am I responding to this as my hurt child self? Then you'll be able to react much, much more cleanly, much, much more calmly, and from a much more responsive place in yourself, whether that's with your own children, whether that's with your partner, your friendships, your relationship with your boss, or your relationship with how you speak to your own self. A lot of the time, we are much, much harsher on ourselves than we would be on anybody else, okay? For example, I will tell you an example. This actually disturbed me. I have a very, very dear friend, and we have been friends for 20, 25 years, something like that. She's very, very dear to me. I have never, ever heard this woman say a cross word to anybody. She's the sort of person that has endless patience with telemarketers. She's the sort of person that will engage every cashier in a conversation. She's the sort of person that will respond to bad service by wondering if there was something that she could have done to make the interaction go smooth. You know, she is a really lovely, kind, loving, selfless person. And one day, when we were together, we were having coffee, which has reminded me of the existence of my coffee. I don't want it to go cold like it always does when I'm filming these videos. So we're having coffee together, and sometimes her hands shake. And so she dropped the cup when her hands were shaking, and she immediately went, "Oh, you stupid, stupid woman." I've never heard her speak like that to anyone, ever. And it shocked me so much to hear her speak so aggressively, so insultingly over something so small. And I asked her, would you have called me a stupid, stupid woman if I was the one that had just dropped that cup? And the answer was, of course, no. But part of her childhood song was that she was clumsy. And so she had internalized this idea that she's clumsy and that is bad. And so when she makes a mistake like dropping something, she deserves to be rebuked for that. And wasn't anything particularly that her parents had done. Her parents were nice. They wouldn't have wanted her to feel like that way into her adulthood. But she wasn't consciously parenting her inner child, and so she reacted in that way. If she had been consciously parenting her inner child, she may still have had that moment where she thought, oh my God, I can't believe that I did something so stupid. But she would have changed that in her head to accidents happen before it had come out of her mouth. Because if one of my children had dropped that cup and they'd got upset with themselves, her response would have been, accidents happen, it's just a thing. As long as you're not hurt, then that's okay. And that is how you need to respond to your own inner child as well, yeah. And so it doesn't have to be about something as simple as dropping a coffee cup. It can be you messed up the big presentation at work, or you forgot your anniversary, or you went out of the house with odd socks on, or actually that one really doesn't matter, does it? But you know, whatever little thing that you would normally berate yourself really fully for, before you do, stop and ask yourself, would you speak to any other child like that? Would you speak to any other person like that? I don't believe that you would. It's about learning to soothe ourselves and speak to ourselves in a way that is respectful, actually. So when I was looking at how to start with the reparenting yourself, there doesn't seem to be lots and lots of information online, but all of that was there would say, but first of all, it takes time. This isn't something that you can quick fix with a quick 30-second meditation and then you're done and you've reparented and it's brilliant. It's an ongoing, committed process. You have to promise yourself that you are going to show up for yourself, that you are not going to let yourself down, and then you have to follow through on that promise as if you have promised that to a other random 3-year-old child that needs you. But the 4 things that most of these sort of psychology websites I was looking at were agreeing that you need to focus on when reparenting your inner child is discipline, joy, emotional regulation, and self-care. As you know, I speak about the last one a lot, but we'll still skate over that in a minute. But discipline, loving, healthy discipline. If you love a child, you do not let them run riot. You do not let them do anything that they want to do, because if you do that, they will never learn to self-regulate. They will never learn to set boundaries and stick with them, and they will grow up thinking that they are in charge. And if they grow up thinking that they're in charge, that means that you are not in charge. And if you are not in charge, that is scary, because you are the grown-up and you're supposed to be in charge. Your inner child needs that security as well. Your inner child needs to know that your inner adult, your inner parent that you are parenting this child with, is in control, that we are in charge, that we are doing things. So you are going to make yourself go to bed on time because you said so and you matter. You are going to make sure that you drink your water. You're going to pick the thing that you're worst at. Even if it's like brushing your teeth, you are going to brush your teeth today. Go and do it now. Pause the video. Go and do it now. You're going to drink your water today. Pause the video. Go and do it now. And it's really important that once you have told yourself that I'm going to get up on time tomorrow, I am going to go to bed on time tonight, I'm going to drink my water, I'm going to go to the gym today, it is really important that you follow through on that promise that you made for yourself, because you would not break that promise to anybody else. If you told somebody, I will meet you at the gym at 2 p.m, you will be there at 2 p.m, or you will be ringing them to tell them why you were late. You will not just not show up because you can't be bothered, but you do that to yourself all the time. No, it's not good enough. We're going to start loving ourselves better. We're going to start treating ourselves better, because every time you break a promise to yourself, there is a little child inside you that thinks, I don't matter enough for people to keep promises to me. That stops today. You're going to keep those promises to yourself. That is your discipline, right? It doesn't mean that you've got to take your devices away if you don't manage it. You're not going to punish yourself over this, but you're going to have that discipline to say, this is worth doing for me, and I'm going to do it. You're going to take care of your body. You're going to get yourself to bed on time. You're going to make sure you're taking your medications on time. You're going to make sure you're drinking your water every hour or so, however often you need to do it to make yourself not dehydrated. You're going to take those regular screen breaks. Those are all sorts of things that a loving parent will instill into you in early childhood. If you didn't have that, you're going to need to work on that for yourself. Even if you did have that, as an adult, it's very easy to let those things slide. We're busy taking care of other people. We haven't got time to take care of ourselves. No, that stops today. We're going to be more disciplined about this. You're going to look after yourself. Of course, the flip side to discipline is, of course, joy. And we all need more joy in our lives. And that is the thing that we leave behind in childhoods that we desperately, desperately need to bring back, okay? Because when you are a child, you spend a little bit of time every single day doing something that's just fun. Even if it's 15 minutes in the playground playing bulldog with your friends, or if you're having a quick game of tag after school, or you're getting a chance to have a go on your computer game, or you're drawing a picture, or you're painting a painting, and you don't care, do you, when you're a child, if that painting's going to be the Mona Lisa or not. You're just enjoying playing with the colours and the form and getting messy and having fun with it. You need to bring some of that into your adult life, because that childhood joy, nurturing and fostering that and making it grow in yourselves, is going to do so many things for you. It is going to light up all your dopamine receptors to give you all the happy hormones, all the serotonin. You're just going to be loving life. It is going to make you realise that you do not have to be perfect at something for it to be worth doing. I do loads of things that I'm rubbish at because they're fun, and that is enough of a reason. You don't have to be like, oh, I quite like sewing, but I'm not good enough to sell my sewing projects on Etsy, so I must never pick up a needle again, or I must work at monetising this. No, do it for the fun of it. Do it even though it's crap. Do it even though it's lumpy. And after you've done it, tell yourself how proud of yourself you are. Because if a 3-year-old came to you with a little blobby picture of a rainbow, you wouldn't go, colours are in the wrong order on that, go and do it again. You would tell them it's brilliant, because it is brilliant. It's brilliant that they're fostering their creativity. It's brilliant that they're shining like that. Your task, if you're taking homework from this, is to do at least one thing for half an hour each week that is just for the joy of it, just for the fun of it. Go and splash in muddy puddles, go and collect pretty autumn leaves, go and spot the signs of spring, go and draw a picture, paint a painting, do a TikTok dance in your living room when no one else is around. Do it just for the fun of it, at least once a week, half an hour. Emotional regulation is a difficult one. Emotional regulation is hard, especially if you did not learn it and you didn't learn to self-soothe when you were a small child. It is a very difficult skill to pick up as an adult, but it is not impossible. If you do my daily shorts with me, you are participating in my emotional regulation each morning, and I hope that you're joining in and starting to feel the benefits, because when we take a great big deep breath before we react to anything, right, and I mean like this, So there, I breathed in for 4 seconds, I held it at the top for 2, and I breathed out for 6 seconds, and it reset my whole body. My shoulders dropped down, the tension from my jaw went, my neck's feeling looser already. And you can do that as a few seconds self-soothing before you get angry, before you get sad, before you panic. As soon as you feel these negative feelings starting to bubble up in you, big deep breath, breathe it all away. Those feelings aren't really helping you right now. Sometimes panic can be helpful. Sometimes it can give you the adrenaline boost that you need to solve an immediate crisis. But most of the time, it's a useless evolutionary throwback that's just getting in your way. Breathe it away. Breathe that worry away. Breathe that panic away. The actual problem is going to feel easier to tackle. It's about regulating within your body. It's a great first step to emotional self-regulation. It is a good way of interrupting a cycle before it becomes a spiral, right? But it isn't the only way to self-regulate. You know how I told you that you've got to be disciplined with yourself? You've got to promise yourself that you're going to go to bed on time, and then you've got to follow through with it. Do more of those promises, not just about things that you don't want to do though, like promise yourself something that you do want to do, but actually follow through and do it. That bit is so important, because the more you make little promises to yourself and the more you keep them, you treat them as important as they would be to a 3-year-old that trusts you completely, and you've promised them something, you wouldn't let them down. Don't let yourself down either. And the more you keep those promises to yourself, the more your inner child comes to believe that they can rely on you. And that is a mega tool for emotional self-regulation, because when our inner child has a tantrum, which happens, right, it could be somebody's really upset us, they've made us feel rejected. It will almost certainly hook into something that you feel bad about childhood. So if you were horribly rejected and felt very rejected as a child, it'll be rejection that does it for you. If you were really shouted at, or you grew up in a house with a lot of conflict, maybe somebody yelling at you will do it to you. But either way, you have this inner child tantrum where everything's awful, it's never going to be good again, and you're very angry, or you're very sad and broken, and it feels like all these feelings are just so big that you can't even remember a time before them, even though that time was only a few minutes ago. That is a very normal thing to do. Interrupt that cycle with the great big deep breath. Remind yourself that you will sort it. And once you've kept enough of those promises to yourself, your inner child's going to go, yeah, I've got this. We've got this. Somebody is in charge. That somebody is me. It's going to get sorted. It's not the end of the world. And that will help you to break that cycle, stop it coming into a spiral, stop it getting too emotional and too hard. It's a slow process. It's not something that you can do just once and it will work. Like I said before, this takes time. It takes months, maybe years, a little bit at a time. So yeah, what you're going to do for self-regulation is the breathing, but you're also going to promise yourself a little something each day. It can be a tiny little something. It can be a tiny little something. If I do the washing up, I can have a biscuit afterwards. I'm going to get to bed half an hour earlier this morning, enjoy my fresh clean sheets that I just put on. You know, little promises. And when you keep them, and this is so important and it's going to feel so silly, when you keep that promise, I want you to say, I'm proud of you for keeping that promise. Okay? Because this is how we're going to self-regulate. This is how we're going to praise ourselves. We're going to promise ourselves things. We're going to start learning to trust ourselves. It's exactly the same way as you would do this with any other human. We build up trust with other humans by, you know, following through. When we promise that we're going to do something, we do it. We gain trust that way. By making the rules clear to ourselves, we feel secure. All of this stuff that we're doing to reparent the inner child is exactly the same sort of stuff that you would be doing to create, foster and nurture a relationship with anyone else. Because that's what you're doing. You are creating a relationship with yourself, and it's really important. It really matters. You're stuck with you forever. It's really important that you like yourself. We're going to celebrate ourselves every time we keep that promise. And then another thing that I found a useful exercise my own self was writing a letter to my inner child, my younger self. I picked an age, I think I picked 7, but you can pick the age probably where you were, like the unhappiest if you want, or you felt the least certain. And what you're going to do is you're going to write a letter, and you're going to tell your younger self that all the stuff that happened wasn't their fault. because it really wasn't. They were a child. You were a child. Whatever happened when you were a child, it wasn't your fault. You were a child. So you're going to write to them, you're going to tell them why it wasn't their fault. You're going to tell them what is awesome about them. When I wrote to my inner child, I was talking about how proud I was of her creativity, her resilience, her imagination. Find those qualities in your child's self. Tell your inner child why you love them. So, so important, because so many of the times all of our wounds from childhood come from feeling like we're not enough, feeling like we're not loved enough. If you can think of your little self as a separate person, a child who needs you, you're going to find it so much easier to take care of them than you will if you're just thinking of them as yourself. So like I said, we don't talk to ourselves the way we talk to other people. So if you can treat your inner child as a separate little kid that needs you and that needs a little bit of your time each day, you're going to find this much easier, and then you won't notice a change, not for ages, but then one day, 6 months from now, you will look back and you'll think about today and you'll think, my God, I've come so far. And you will have come really far, and I'll be really proud of you, but it won't matter, because by then you'll be able to tell yourself how proud you are of you, and other people's opinions on what you do or don't do really won't matter at all. Most important thing, and I've already touched on it, is make sure you find time to play. Half an hour each week. You're going to dance around in your living room, you're going to paint a picture, you're going to go and see if you can collect some interesting stamps. Whatever you used to do when you were a child that made you feel really, really joyful, start there. You can work your way to new hobbies from there if you want to, but the most important thing is just making sure you build a little bit of joy into your life. Something that your little self would have really liked to do would be great. I'm also going to link in the description my video on the double journal method, because you may find that really useful for charting your journey about reparenting your inner child. It's a good technique. It gives you separate space for the negative and the positive things, and will help regulate your emotions as well, which is part of what all of this is about. Self-soothing, regulating ourselves, learning to love our little self. I'll link that in the description as well. It might help you out. I hope that this video has helped you a little bit just to start meeting any unmet childhood needs that you've got going on there. That's going to help you feel just emotionally more secure and more capable in fixing that inner child, giving them a hug, making them feel loved. It's not too late for that, and it will affect the adult that you are today. It will make that better. It is not too late just because you're grown up now, I promise. Anyway, I've waffled on enough. I'm going to wrap it up there before we all wander off board. Join me on Monday for my next vlog. I'm not quite sure what order I'm posting these in. I'll be doing something more interesting than just sitting and talking at you, I promise. If you can't wait till Monday, 6 AM UK time for my next weekly vlog, I am, of course, here every morning on the shorts, taking a great big deep breath like I just showed you then, and letting you know what I'm grateful for. It's all part of the laws of attraction thing. The more you see what you're grateful for, the more you look for things that you're grateful for, the more things you realise are brilliant about your life. It's fantastic. I'm also here every Tuesday, assuming that I haven't killed it yet, checking in with Dave the Terrarium to see if that is still alive so far. Touch wood, it is. I'll see you next week. Until then, you have yourself a magical week.